Yes, indeed. You already know what it is. It's your man Tribe Rico and my main man Michael Langston, and grab them is all I can say. I'm gonna let the word camp play for a little bit. Special edition. We're coming to you today. Had to do the show. Had to break down what happened. My man Mike is in NOLA. Let's left the Knoll Dome. He's on his phone. We'll go ahead and turn this down a little bit. Mike, I'm gonna let you take it away, man. You just experienced it. Give me some feelings, man. Initial reaction.
Yeah, the atmosphere is unreal. The LSU fans were unreal. The FSU fans were unreal. The atmosphere was crazy. It was almost like a playoff game type of atmosphere. Just the emotions kept going back and forth. There were so many times that FSU was like right on the verge of just putting it away and finishing it, and then they just couldn't finish off plays, and then LSU just kept fighting, and then these guys just found a way. I mean, at the end, they gave up a looked like it was going to be a tying touchdown, and then the guy blocked the extra point, and the place went nuts. Just roof came off, but overall, just the performance was so solid. The way they attacked them, they were aggressive. Defense was in the backfield. Jared Verse was ridiculous tonight. I don't know how many sacks. I don't even know the stats, but that dude had to have like 3 or 4 sacks. So he was just all in the backfield almost every play. So he was phenomenal. And just the defense in general was just really aggressive. Tatum Bethune made some plays. Kalen Dillish really good. I really liked what I saw from the linebackers. And I think from the most part, they did a really good job on Butte, who's probably one of the best receivers in the nation. I think with this group, I think if you'd have told FSU like these guys are only going to catch like one touchdown against you, I think they would have probably taken that. But um, like still a lot of mistakes, but at the same time, it was always about the win, no matter what way you do it. They just needed to get a national win where everyone's watching because everyone played yesterday, everyone played on Saturday, everyone's
Yeah.
watching your butt, everyone's watching what you guys are doing, and now everyone says that now you can say to everyone, "Hey, college football, we're here. We're not back,
Yeah.
but we're here. We're here." Take
Yeah.
note,
We're in the building.
FSU made their presence known, like where this is going. It's not a perfect situation. It's not a perfection. It's not a finishing product. It's a lot still to work on. But um, Jordan Travis was the best I've ever seen him. Phenomenal, and just this team in general grew up a lot today. And we talked about last year how these guys had to learn how to win, and tonight they kind of that manifested itself where they found out how to win. Things are going against you,
Mhm.
adversity striking you. Team just hit a touchdown catch with no time left, blocked the extra point, win the game. Just make the small plays to finish it off. And it certainly wasn't how they drew up and everything, but they got it done. And it's kind of what Mike Norvell said. Understand every play.
You're breaking up a little bit there. You're breaking up a little bit. Looks like we got some technical difficulties down there. It's probably Brian Kelly trying to chime in. See if we can get you back here. Oh, it's still got you a little timed out here. There you go.
Okay.
There, you were
Okay.
timed out for a couple of minutes. I thought we were gonna have to cut it out, but the show's gonna go on. So yeah, we lost about 60 seconds there. Technical difficulties. Mike Langston is on his cellular device there in the hotel in NOLA. Ground zero. It just feels like an epic win for Florida State, and I had so much stuff dialed up, man. I had so much trash to talk, and I was really feeling good the whole game, and the ending kind of robbed that, right? I mean, it was kind of a Barnum and Bailey
Yeah.
finish. I mean, we did some really goofy stuff on the goal line, but it doesn't take away from the fact that we just lined up and frankly beat LSU's ass for 60 minutes. Let's call it 56. You make some mistakes down there at the end, but to see the graduation of the team and the program go from losing to Jacksonville State this time last year to being able to go on the national stage, to go down to the boot, to go down into the Superdome. Now it's now called the Noles Dome. And to go down there and for 60 minutes compete with a team that's got that stack of athletes, All-American receiver, held him to 2 catches, 20 yards. I mean, we're talking DBU, right? I mean, who's DBU? We were saucing those DBs all game long, going over top of their heads. You know, we shut the All-American receiver down for 2 catches, 20 yards, right? So we can get to the DBU discussion later, but to see that program come down there and be able to match the physicality, to be able to go player for player, the physicality on the line of scrimmage, both sides, offense, defense, to be able to line up and play a fairly clean football game if we look at it. I mean, so the penalties, really, 30 of it came on that one drive where we had the hit with Dan, and then a terrible, what I thought was a terrible pass interference call. That's 30 of it there. But a relatively clean game. You've got 1 fumble lost. I mean, we played 56 minutes of turnover-free ball. That's a very aggressive defense. I think FSU fans right now have to feel just elated. I mean, you don't care how it's done, like you said. You just had to get a win. I don't give a crap how you do it. End up with more points than them because we're trying to ascend as a program, and they did it. You know, and this coaching staff's got to feel great. A lot of people didn't give us much of a chance. You know, a lot of LSU fans, a lot of SEC fans, because apparently that's a thing where you root for a whole conference. I guess it's something the SEC does. But they didn't give us much of a shot. You know, they thought we were basically a joke. They were going to come down and just kick the shit out of us, and you know, we should be honored to be on the field with them. Well, that's not the case. Mike Norvell addressed the deficiencies in this program in a big way. Went to the transfer portal. Guys bought into the culture. Guys are development. There's a lot of development in this program. And I think tonight you saw it because you saw a Florida State program that can line up and bully ball with you. We can line up on the goal line. We can get where we need to get to. We can line up. We can go man. We can blitz you. We can whip your offensive tackle's ass and get to the quarterback when we need to. And, I mean, to me, it was very fulfilling to see the program compete on that level, to wind up with the victory, even though it was a sloppy finish. Huge, huge. I mean, just huge. We talked at length. I mean, I'm going to let you go into detail on it, but we talked at length about how huge this was for the program. And the most important thing that I said going into this and that I was worried about, the health of Jordan Travis. Can you get out of this game with Jordan Travis healthy? And if you get out of this game with Jordan Travis healthy with a win at 2-0, holy crap. I mean, it ain't about are we bowling? It's going to be what bowl are we going to go to, right? How good can this team get at this point? And, man, I mean, Christmas came early. You know, God blessed us. Holy smokes. Take it away, Mike. What do you got?
Yeah. Just feels like they had to do it this way because it would be their only way because they're trying to break the glass and break the ceiling. And it's like, okay, you have to block an extra point to win a game because that's just the way the suffering and all FSU fans had to go through. But it just feels like it just had to go that way to get to that point. The receivers were phenomenal. Micah Pittman was phenomenal. Johnny Wilson was just mossing dudes like left and right. I mean, just played. They all played a hell of a game. Deuce Spann had his moments, and then Trayshawn Ward ran that rock and was really, really good. Unfortunately, had that big mistake down there the goal line at the end of the game. Would have put it away, but overall, just it didn't matter how it was going to get done. You just had to find a way to get it done, and they got the job done. I mean, it's a huge win for the program. It's a huge. I told you before, Rico, like before this week, like they need this game's really important, but the Louisville game to me is even more important later because that affects your conference. But this one was more important from a national perspective to say, hey, nation, what's up? We're here. We ain't back, but we're here.
Right.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, brother just hopped into the chat. Everybody, you know him well. Do me and T, Mr. Trey Cannon. Go ahead and say what's up to everybody.
What's up, everybody?
What's going on? Yeah, we see you. We got you. You're loud and clear. We see you. So, Trey, you watched the game. We talked a lot about college football. I know from back in the time when I was there, you got to come down to Tallahassee and you kind of took a liking to it. So, what were your impressions? I know you like Florida State. What are your impressions just from watching the game? Like, what did you see with the program? Did you see a difference?
Yeah. They came in. They came in with something to prove. I think there was a whole lot of buzz. I mean, you're going into basically a home game for LSU right there in New Orleans. And I mean, your fans showed up. Like, that felt like a neutral site, even though it was right there in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Like, just
It
watching
was. It was. It was a
Yeah.
lot of Noles fans. It was damn near 50-50, believe it or not. I know people have a lot of time believing that. It was damn near 50. It was loud as hell. Like FSU side was almost completely full, and the crowd was crazy from both sides. So yeah, I think they just came in this game. They had a chip on their shoulder, like they want to come in, like they want to prove to everyone. Plus, I'd heard during the week Brian Kelly was being kind of arrogant about, hey, we're not worried about these guys, but we're focused. We know we got to play well, but it wasn't like they were taking them seriously. You know, oh, FSU's they'll find a way to screw it up or something. That's kind of the vibe I got, and even most LSU radio stations thought that they were going to win by a couple of touchdowns. That was the feeling. So,
well, Mike,
I think it was.
tell me what's. I was going to say, what is your feeling from being down the last couple of days? What does LSU feel about the team? I see a lot of stuff on the internet. Well, LSU's trash. Well, is LSU trash, or are they trash because FSU just beat them, right? I mean, what's the feeling of LSU going into the season? What kind of season did they feel like they were going to have before this game was kicked off?
Yeah, I think they felt like, this is going to be a 9-10 win season. I think they felt like they were going to compete in the West somewhat. They know probably winning it is going to be a stretch, but I think they felt like they were going to have a good season. And I think a lot of Jaden Daniels. I think he's a good quarterback. He found ways to keep plays alive. He was the only reason that game was even as close as it was. He just kept plays alive, hit some big plays. I followed that guy a lot, even back to when he played Arizona State. He's a great player. Their defense has playmakers. It was a game where FSU had to go out there. If you want to win this game, you got to make plays.
Yeah.
And when they needed the plays, they made it. In the end, they had enough plays. And two, it's like, be honest, LSU's roster is more impressive than what FSU has. Like, it just is. But that didn't matter tonight. You couldn't see that. It didn't seem that way when you watch these two teams play. It's like, because FSU took it to them. Like, they should have won this game by like probably 2 scores. But they did such a good job just taking to it, executing their game plan, and really hitting some explosive passive plays. I told you this before, Rico. Like, when one of the top recruits visited, he went to a scrimmage and he told me, he's like, dude, they throw the ball a lot. Like, so I was like, whoa. I was like, that ain't FSU, what we've been seeing. So I kind of felt like, hey, we're going to see a lot more out of this passing game. And we saw it a lot tonight. I don't know what Jordan finished with passing, but they threw the ball a lot tonight.
Well, I could tell you, I actually pulled the stats up, and it actually ended up being a really close battle between him and Daniels. Daniels made crazy plays down the stretch there to even it out, but Jordan finished. He finished 20-32 for 260, 2 scores. Looking at his running, I think he had 31 yards on the ground, so he had about 291 with 2 scores. No turnovers on his part, and Jaden Daniels actually finished with 320 something and 2 scores. So I mean, that was a quarterback battle there. Trey, I'll take it down to you. Watching the game, what kind of feel did that give you? I mean, we talk about the difference in like the size and the speed. Did that game give you a feel of two programs that were, at a certain point as far as their roster? Did it feel different watching some of the other games?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see what I'm wearing. I was watching the Winston-Salem State game on NFL.com or on the NFL channel, and that was a rough game. And like seeing a little bit, like, I mean, yeah, it's collegiate, so I mean, of course, you're gonna have your like miscues, a couple like areas where the discipline isn't necessarily showing, but overall, FSU and LSU, they had some big dudes. How big? Who was that guy that you guys had that's like 6'7", like 2?
Yeah, Johnny Wilson.
Like when I just see him on the field next to just the rest of his team, I'm like, this dude's playing Pee-wee football.
It brings up the stuff we talked about. A lot of times, like we talked before when we were talking about just being humbled, right? I mean, if you're an FSU guy and you're connected to the program or you love the program, it's been a really humbling 5 years, no doubt about it. I mean, last year, the rock bottom, the Jacksonville State, we know what it's like to. Last time we went to the swamp, Well, actually, a couple times ago, we went to the Swamp. We got blown out. I mean, Miami's blown us out recently because we got the clapback. So we've taken our licks, man. I mean, just it's been tough. But to see the program kind of evolve, and then you called it when we started making these additions in the transfer portal, we were becoming a different program. When you go get a Michael Pittman from Oregon, when you go get a Johnny Wilson from Arizona State, when you go get a Tatum Bethune, a South Florida kid from UCF, when you go up and get a couple down linemen, when you go get a Jared Verse who you scouted in an Albany versus Syracuse game, you just see this guy coming off the edge, don't even know who he is. Mike Norvell and his staff have shown that they have an eye for talent. And they have an eye to build. And not only are they just building for talent, but they're bringing the right guys. You've been very in-depth about that and the difference that it was going to make. And I'm here to tell you, I don't know how many games we're going to win. I feel very comfortable that we'll go bowling with what I saw tonight. But this is a different team. They're different from what's inside the pads. They play with a different level of heart. There's a different level of buy-in. And the talent level is simply elevated. It's not the same level of talent that you saw the last 2 years. I think you saw some of that tonight. But this team has talent. We haven't had talent for 4 or 5 years across the board. We have it now. So, man, you hit it on the head. But what did you see? Did you see like a culmination of that? Or what really stood out to you from our roster standpoint?
Well, I mean, I told you this going into the season that, the talent, I actually believe now, Rico, that no matter game what they play, they have the roster to compete with anybody they play. Doesn't matter who the hell it is. I don't care if it's Florida, if it's Miami, if it's Clemson, they have a roster to compete. That doesn't mean they're going to win. That means they have a roster. And they haven't had that in those years. So you see that with Michael Pittman, you see that with Deuce Spann, you see that with the guy Trey Loves and Johnny Wilson, just size out the wazoo. Just Cam McDonald, I rag on that guy a lot, but for the most part, he played really well, except for the drop he had, in like second, third quarter. But I think overall, just the roster in general is just totally different. I mean, Tatum Bethune at linebacker, Jared Verse had like 3 or 4 sacks. He was in the backfield almost every play, it seemed. So yeah, it's just complete package. He had it all. I mean, and it just tells you where this program's growing.
Well, I'll hit on a couple of things. I've got the team stats here so we can line this up and talk about this. Obviously, LSU had a great finish to the game. That last drive was impressive, 97 yards. Jaden Daniels makes a lot of crazy plays. I mean, listen, you got the game. LSU had 2 miscues on the fumbles that were just huge, and FSU came up with 0 points. One thing from a coaching standpoint that's really tough to swallow is chasing points. We saw it in the Utah-Florida game when Utah was chasing points, and it ended up biting them. And it bit us too. I mean, you don't go for it on 4th and 2, in my estimation, when you're controlling a game, about to get the ball to start the half. And I think it bit us. But anyway, 392 to 348 was the total yards. FSU outgaining the Tigers by almost 50 yards there. We won the turnover battle. This was the key. And this is what I want the people who watch this show to take away. Time of possession. Time of possession is huge because time of possession tells you when you're controlling a game. FSU had the ball for 34 minutes. LSU had the ball for 26. That's an 8-minute possession win for FSU. That tells me that you're controlling the line of scrimmage. That tells me that you're able to get first downs and extend drives and hang on to the football. And for a program to go from where we were last year, where we're losing to the bottom of the conference, we're losing to Jacksonville State, to jump this year, to be able to outpossess a team like LSU who's got dudes everywhere, that tells you the just exponential growth of the program right there. If any stat, that stat right there, because you can hit big plays in the mass yards, but when you can sit on a football against an SEC West power and own the football and own the line of scrimmage, that's big time, man. That's big time.
Yeah, sorry if I was losing the conversation. I had 2 naked guys damn near walk right by my ass, like damn near naked. So New Orleans, there you go.
We're coming live from NOLA, baby.
But yeah, that was the one question I told with Rico last week was the defensive front. That's what I wanted to see more of. I wanted to see more of pressure in the backfield, more sacks, more of that stuff. That's the stuff we didn't know until this game. And this game, you saw it in like Golden Corral buffet load. Like they were in there. Jaden Daniels was running for his life. And like I said, if he didn't make some of the plays he was making, that game would have been a blowout probably. But the pressure in the quarterback, it's just different dudes. Like when you watch this team, it's like Derek McClendon's different, Jared Verse is different. All these guys in the middle, Jared Jackson, transfer from Louisville, he just looks different. He wasn't really impactful last year, and this year they're in the plays. It's like Dennis Briggs, all these guys are always in the backfield. So it's just a lot of different dudes, and some of them were development guys that they just did a good job with since Norvell's been in his 3 years, and then some of them just you got in there, you found the right guy as far as who you were recruiting from the transfer portal, and they hit home runs. I mean, I don't think there's one miss that they have so far in the portal. I mean, they have nailed. When you look at every one of these guys, it's like damn near every one of them are making an impact in this game.
Yeah, and I love it. I'm looking at the defense now. We've pulled up some of the offense. We'll get back to the offense, but just defensively, and Trey, I'm going to let you chime in what you saw defensively just with speed and just kind of schematics. Looking at sacks and tackles for loss, again, you're going up against the SEC West line. I know they're young, and I know that they're trying to gel and whatnot, but these are still dudes that are going to play on Sunday. These are still ass-beaten 4- or 5-star linemen, dudes transfers from all over the country to come into LSU. It's one of the best schools in the country as far as talent. I'd call them a top 10 school as far as a mass talent per roster. I'd have LSU in the top 10. And FSU just sacked the quarterback 4 times, and this guy he's like a jackrabbit in there. So to get him 4 times is a win. You could have had him by 10. And then you get 6 tackles for loss. Looking at Jared Verse, a transfer, two sacks and 2.5 tackles for loss. I mean, you got dudes at FSU that are just really getting penetration in A gap, B gap, coming around the edge, being able to whip tackles. Defensively, I thought the tackling on the edge, Renardo Green had 8 solo tackles, Tatum Bethune 7 solo tackles, Deloach 5, Cooper had 5. I mean, you look between those starting corners, that's 13 solo tackles on the edge. Big key was, can you tackle in space? Can you rally up from depth and make tackles against LSU's wide receivers, which if you play fantasy football like we do, your team probably has an LSU wide receiver on it. So I thought the corners played great. A couple missed coverages here and there. I mean, really, safeties and linebackers miscommunicating. But defensively, man, huge improvement because there's a lot of playmakers on the other side of the ball. And to be able to hold them to 23 points and, they scored 13 in the fourth quarter in kind of scramble mode. Trey, what did you see defensively? Did you see a difference in, like, just the speed defensively?
Yeah. Overall, I feel like FSU's defense was good, but I wish they would have spied the QB, Daniel a little earlier. Like he was like he ended up the final number 114 on the ground, just like running around. He probably had over 200 yards total. Like if you count all the times he's ran in circles. Like, I mean, I seen that you guys did eventually start going to a spy, and I feel like that's when, like, FSU or LSU started getting a little bit more frustrated on offense. But overall, like, everywhere else was great. I mean, it was just – and I feel like that's what led Daniels to having to scramble for his life. Like, you guys held down the fort everywhere else.
I think if it was any team but LSU, and Mike, you tell me what you think. I think it was any team but LSU with the talent they have on the outside – I think you would have seen a zero coverage blitz on one of those last drives where you just take inside coverage and you force a sideline throw, keep somebody in the middle of the field, but bring pressure to try to speed it up. I think we were so worried about Butte or one of those guys getting loose on the sideline on a deep ball. We didn't want to cover that. But, man, it would have been nice to see, but I get why they didn't call it because you got some doggone monsters out there on the outside. What did you like and dislike on those last couple defensive drives?
Well, I mean, I like the fact that they, I didn't like what they were rushing 3. I never like when you rush 3. It's never good because you're just dropping people in space, and it's like a prevent, and that usually prevents you from stopping shit. So you ain't stopping nothing when you do that. But what I did like is just the aggressiveness of Verse on the edge, and when they put 4 up there, that's when they got the sack. But it's like that was the problem I had, but. And then 2, that they would spy him sometimes, but they were careful. They didn't want to spy him too much because if they spy him, then that leaves Butte in the middle where he can go nuts and get like a 30, 40-yard catch and be gone for a touchdown. So it was just tricky. It was a tricky kick. I mean, because Daniels is so good, when the play breaks down. So it makes it tough even if you spy somebody. I mean, there were times where he spied him and, we just didn't do as good a job as they should have tackling. there was times they had them, they just didn't bring them to the ground. So there's play. And, like I said, not a finished product, a long ways to go, but the tackling, obviously, that's something they'll focus on heavily. I know on the week off or the break, so I'm sure that's something that they'll harp on hard. It was the tackling, so that's the thing I didn't like the most was the tackling. Outside of maybe Jamie Robinson. But the rest of them, just got to finish plays. But that's all part of this big game. When you play in a big game like this, when you play a big game, you're going to make big plays and then you're going to give up big plays. So it's who makes the biggest play at the end. And, that's FSU and they got it done. But, that I think overall, just one of the biggest nights in FSU history when you compare to them being at the bottom and then now where they're at now to get a national win on national television in front of everyone. It's a big deal. It's a major deal. I don't care if it's by a half a point.
Right.
How you doing, buddy?
Right. Yeah. And again, we got to remind the people that are going to watch this that Mike is live in NOLA. Trey is chiming in with us from North Carolina. I'm here just trying to bring you some content and talk about this, man. It just feels like Florida State needed a moment. They needed to show on a national stage in a game that mattered, a game that wasn't in dope, a game that wasn't against a Wake Forest or no disrespect to the Louisville or ACC opponents. You needed to go out and do it against a team with a huge following, a team that was going to pack a house, and a team that people would say, oh, okay, they want to sit down, grab their popcorn, and watch it. And Florida State came out there tonight, and I was most impressed with not shying away from the moment. Being game for it, it felt like a bowl game, and the guys came out, they smacked the LSU Tigers in the mouth. They weren't afraid of contact. They weren't afraid to come up there and match them, and then the intensity. And they just got this sense of belief. Like, once they got up 7-3, it just felt like this team felt like they belonged. They weren't scared. And that is a huge step from the program. Not that they've been scared before, but when you have the confidence because you know the work you've put in, you know what you've got. I sensed it from Mike Norvell. I sensed it from Alex Atkins. I sensed it from the entire defensive staff. I sensed it from the whole sideline that they believe that they could win this football game. They believe that they could line up and they could go man for man with the LSU Tigers, which to me speaks volumes. And then to do it and then to go execute it and then come out with a victory in what was just a raucous environment. I'm not telling you anything you didn't experience. How many beers did you get poured on your head?
I had 3 of them fall on my head. Like after that last play, it was pandemonium. It was chaotic. It was crazy. The one, quickly before I go, because I got 12% battery power, so I got to charge my phone up. But the takeaway I would say is they grew a lot tonight. They learned how to win. We talked about that last year, Rico. They did the Miami game, then they beat North Carolina too. But it seems like they always beat North Carolina, so that's not really moving the needle. But this is a game that moves the needle. This is the game that moves the needle nationally. So this moves the needle nationally. Obviously, Ryan Fitzgerald, bitch, you got to get in there and practice. Because, dude, you are terrible. You got to practice. I love Ryan. You're my dude. Colquitt County, shout out, whatever. But you got to get in there and practice. You cannot be kicking kickoffs out of bounds when there's a 100-yard field. You cannot do that.
I was losing my mind in the chat. Ryan Fitzgerald, we love you, but dude, you got to hold the line, brother. You cannot be missing standard kicks over 50 yards. They got to go through the uprights, and then it affects coaching decision. And then we don't kick kicks because we're like, man, can we rely on it? And you got to keep the ball in between the hashes on kickoffs. You can't be giving the LSU Tigers the ball at the 40-yard line. So we got a lot of stuff to clean up, but man, it just feels good to be on the right side of that.
See what I'm dealing with. People know me everywhere. Can't do anything. But yeah, it's great.
Trey, I'll ask you, you watched a lot of football this weekend. Now, obviously, we know Florida State's got a long way to go. I'm not saying by any means that we're up there top 10 or top 15 or maybe not even top 25, but how did FSU look just in terms of all those other teams that you watched this weekend? Did they look on par or where did you see that was different between them and the Notre Dames, the Ohio States, et cetera?
Honestly, I feel like it also has
really big. Really big. So the 3 at the top is really big. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be up all night. I'm gonna be up all night. Yeah, he was there.
But honestly, I think they belong, man. I was just checking the rankings. I was trying to see, like, all right, is Florida State about to crack the top 25 or what's about to go on here?
We're about to crack
Yeah.
the top 25.
We're going to see how, man. Mike's in there taking pictures. Mike's got some Noles and Nola, some Noles that left the Nole Dome. Well, Mike, we're going to let you enjoy it, man, because you're down there on ground zero. Go ahead and get you some feel good, man. Appreciate everything that you do, all the coverage, man. And it is a great night to be a Nole, man. Appreciate you.
You got it, buddy. I'll see you when I get home.
All right, fellas. Trey, appreciate you coming on. We're going to wrap this up. We're right at 30 minutes. Appreciate you coming on. And, hey, FSU 24, LSU 23. I don't really know what to say. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, sometimes the good Lord has to come down and save you from yourself because we were damn sure trying to screw it up. but we'll take it.
Oh man, yeah, that was a great finish.
Just real quick before we go, how would you rank that finish as far as craziness? And just as somebody that's kind of watching it and not diehard of either, what was the entertainment value of that finish?
It was. I mean, there's a whole lot of entertaining finishes this weekend for like teams that I kind of have like a little bit of stake in. Like, I mean, even like that one, I didn't think a game could be as crazy of a finish as like that App State UNC, but that one was right up there, like right up to the last moment. Like, I mean, most the punt, he gets the ball, fumble.
Man.
And then to win it on a blocked field goal or a blocked PAT again. Like, so it was definitely a very what's the word? It was a very dramatic game as far as special teams goes. Like special teams definitely stole the show for this one.
Yeah, special teams all over the place. Drama in the Nole Dome down in Louisiana came down to the boot and put a boot in that ass. FSU's 2-0, 24-23 victory over LSU. Hey, baby steps. We got a bye week, and now we got to go on and move on. And we got the Louisville Cardinals going to have a trip to Kentucky. It's going to be a high-stakes matchup. In our family, there's probably going to be a little bit of trash talk going on.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll see. Hey, but appreciate you for coming on. It's my brother Trey, and we will see you. We will come back probably this week. We're going to have a lot of content, a lot of stuff going on in Justice League. But, hey, Noles, say it again. Noles 24, LSU 23. Go Noles, baby.